We're good.
Okay, so am I just going to start talking, or you guys have something for me?
I already introduced you, so yeah, just if you want to start speaking, or I can reintroduce you again. It's up to you.
No, that's fine. Well, hi everybody. I'm Jen.
Hello.
And thanks for being patient with the technology. I deal with this kind of stuff all the time, so I'm always on Skype calls like all over the world, so half the time they never work, so that's just part of life. But I guess I'm here tonight to talk to you about my work starting Coalition Snow and how I got started. And what I'm hoping is that this is actually like a dialogue, a conversation between us, because it's going to be quite boring if I just talk at you for 20, however many minutes long. So I might keep what I say at the beginning a bit short and then open it up for questions, if that's okay with all of you.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, great. So I have here that I'm supposed to talk about the story of how I got to where I was today. A lot of courage and being really naive. Those two things together, being courageous and naive, have allowed me to get to where I am today. Very important. No one's laughing. Okay, I'll keep going. I never imagined that I would own a ski company. It was never on my list of things to do. I did my undergrad at Northern Arizona University in journalism. I then was over that. I didn't want to do that. So then I went back to school and got a teaching credential for high school. Definitely didn't want to do that when I was done with that. From there, I got into outdoor education, and so I moved from Flagstaff to Lake Tahoe, and I worked pretty heavily in wilderness therapy, and then I worked for UC Berkeley for quite a long time, running a wilderness program for them, which was really targeted toward first-generation college students, and when they were actually in high school, to help them get into college. And it was a literacy program that we ran in the wilderness during 40-day courses. So I ran that, and then when I was doing that, I bought a whitewater rafting company, which was sort of the first for-profit company that I had owned, which is probably how I cut my teeth in the for-profit world, because I'd always been working for group homes or colleges or something before that. So I owned this whitewater rafting company for a really long time, which helped me understand working with clients and marketing, risk management, all these different things. Sold that company and used the money that I got from selling the company to start Coalition. And the reason why I started Coalition, this is where the being naive comes in. I didn't really know what would happen with it. I've been a snowboarder for over 20 years. When you live in a place like Lake Tahoe, you're kind of surrounded by people who are pretty badass when it comes to skiing and riding. And women in general have just been like really unhappy with the gear that we have. It's just sucky. So we were on this backcountry ski trip a couple years ago, and everyone was talking about like, women aren't represented in the industry, and really what's going to change it is we need more companies run by women, and we need a women's ski company. And then they were like, yeah, Jen, you should do it. You should start this company. And I said, okay. And I tend to do things like that. Like I definitely have an entrepreneurial spirit. I like big challenges. I don't mind. I recognize that things are going to be really tough. I don't mind a sacrifice. Like I sacrifice a lot. I never want to be told what to do, which is why I've never been in a 9-to-5, like Monday 9-to-5 thing. So the idea of like starting your own thing has always been like, I kind of do that. So anyways, everyone, like you should, like Jen, you're the one who can run a company, you should start this company. So got back from the backcountry ski trip, started emailing all the women that I knew, saying like, hey, do you think a women's ski company is a good idea? And we have this like idea for a name, Coalition, and I asked them to forward it to their friends. And so for that first summer, this was in 2013, we just basically did like guerrilla market research with as many women as we could find to see what they thought. And the response was overwhelming. There were, a couple people who were like, yeah, I don't get it. but those were guys, and we're not selling stuff to them anyways, so we were like, okay, you're not a target market, it doesn't matter if you don't get it. So it's like kept going with it, and we thought we'd test the waters even more by launching, kind of doing like a PR stunt. We got our first prototypes of skis and snowboards, took them over to Africa, to Kenya, hiked up Mount Kenya, which is the second highest peak on the continent. It's like 16,500 feet. And then we're like the first 2 women to ski the glacier. And so we did that so that we could get press. And we did it as a fundraiser for the organization that I work with over there. So good things came of it. We ended up raising like $16,000 to give loans to women in Kenya. So good stuff happened. But we really just needed a way to get our company like into the media because nobody cares. Because every dude is making skis in his garage, right? So it doesn't matter that you're one more person who's making skis. So we did it as a, to get publicity, and it worked. We got featured a lot. More people recognized us. We got more positive feedback. And then from there, we went forward with it and sought out our initial investors to have the capital to go into production the first year, tested a bunch of other designs, found a factory that we liked working with. I started building a team, a CFO and a creative director and a COO. Got our investors, launched our first year, which was last year, which was like potentially the worst year to launch a ski company because it was the 4th. I mean, you guys all know about the drought. I'm sure, you've got a lot of rivers up there and stuff. So, we did okay. Not snowing a lot, but it seemed like the right time to launch the company because there's all this momentum in the industry with Lindsay Dyer's Pretty Faces movie and CFAS clinics and like a lot of these pro-sponsored films or like activities that are happening. So we're able to align ourselves with them, and we launched the company, sold some skis, launched a Kickstarter last spring, raised $31,000, got some more investors, went into production, and now my skis are on a boat coming over here, and everybody in Tahoe is waiting for it to snow. And that's how it happened.
That's awesome. Wow. That's pretty cool.
I can keep going, but I'm just going to open it. That's okay. I'm just going to hope, if anybody has any questions or comments, because there's plenty of other things to talk about, but that's kind of how it all started.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Left, you're on the, blue shirt.
Blue shirt. That's you.
Okay.
That's you.
Yeah.
Question, how did you get into contact with the manufacturers and some of the other equipment? Because I know that's usually the hardest part is finding a factory or type of item that's not going to put you so much into the hole, but also is going to be effectively useful at the same time. I don't know if you could hear me, sorry.
We couldn't have done this without knowing people in the industry. I think that's one of the benefits of living in Tahoe is that you know professional athletes, you know other people who've started ski companies. So we have someone who's a consultant to us who basically believed in what we were doing, who made phone calls and got us into the factory. We probably never would have gotten in on our own because we're not professional athletes. We've never started a ski company before, and they kind of look for that. But it was through the recommendation of this other person that we got into the factory, and we specifically we're manufacturing overseas. We're in Japan, and that was a strategic decision because we could have easily, or not easily, we could have decided to manufacture domestically, but what's available domestically you can't scale. So if you would have if we ever would have gotten, or even this year, next year, if we were to get an order for 5,000 skis, you can't do that domestically because no one's producing at that amount who's doing OEM, who would actually produce for you. So we knew that we had this vision that if we're even going to do this, we want to try to be a really big company, be a multi-million-dollar company in 5 years, and to do that we need to sell a lot of products. So we need to be in a factory that can actually produce thousands of pairs of skis for us. So that's why we started looking overseas and went with this particular factory that has 60 years experience pressing.
Can I still add on? Sorry. Now, for your units that you've gotten all your supplies for, were you able to sell them within I guess, in an acceptable time frame, or are you still backed up on stock after you've gotten that much supplies and everything? Because that's a lot of equipment.
Yeah, so we still have, we basically just have flat skis and snowboards shipped to us. So we're not doing any of the pressing here, but we do have skis and snowboards left over from last season, as does every ski company, because everybody suffered last year. So we still have those, and they're on our website for sale, and we're hopefully will move them. We don't have a lot left over because we didn't order a lot. I mean, that's are you all familiar with the lean startup?
Yeah.
You guys have heard about that? Yeah. So for me, I was like, let's just get some shit made and try to sell it and just do it. So we didn't do this huge big line and try to reach everyone the first year. We had a limited line, a limited number. So we're not sitting on a ton of stock, but we have some, and then we expanded our line for the second year. So did that answer your question?
No, yeah, it did. I was just asking because usually that's the problem for most companies is they overstock and then they're left over with so much. And I mean, the reason I asked was because your guys' target market is kind of out there. I mean, it's really hard when you're coming from one section of just one part of the mountain when there's other mountains around. So I didn't know if you guys were going to other ski resorts and trying to get a better target market for your product.
So yeah, okay, so we specifically went small production because we didn't want to end up with so much left over that we had to sell it on Steep and Cheap and devalue the brand. So that was a strategic decision. Even with this year, we didn't place a huge order because I don't want my skis selling for $150. That devalues my brand. So we didn't do that. In terms of being at different mountains, so we have an ambassador program so that even though we're in Tahoe, so there's 14 resorts in Tahoe, but we have an ambassador program that now has us on 3 continents, 5 countries, and 7 states with more than 30 women. So even though our team is based here in Tahoe, we've definitely made a big push in the last year to get our company and get our skis outside of Tahoe, which has been really important because it hasn't been snowing here. So, cool. So someone else. Yes, you had your hand up.
Hi. Yeah. Could you go into a little more detail about the $16,000 that you raised, as far as what organization you raised that through, and were you using Kiva or what kind of microloan company you used?
Oh, right. So it's my organization.
Okay.
I start a lot of stuff. So I started an organization in Kenya. We give loans to women. It's called Zawadisha with a Z, Zawadisha. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow all of it. But site too. So I had started the organization after my master's degree, and because we were already in the country doing work, and I know the outfitters, and it was really easy to. It's just kind of nice that Mount Kenya is there and we can ski the glacier. But we used a peer-to-peer fundraising platform. So basically, we had a team of people on my board of directors who had their own fundraising page, where the whole gimmick was give $1 for every. We want to raise $1 for every foot that we're climbing, and so people kind of had competitions between one another. So the specific model is peer-to-peer, which is different than crowdfunding, and yeah, we just raised the money directly through my organization, and then all the loans got dispersed.
Awesome. Can I follow that up? So, when you for the organization itself, how I'm sorry, I'm totally blanking on the name. Do you repeatedly lend out these funds, or is this typically a one-time loan, or how do you do that? Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, so we repeatedly we have a revolving fund. So loans go out, money comes back in, more loans go out, money comes back in. Our specific model that we're working on is it's not really the technically micro lending where we're giving money for small businesses. It's consumer consumer financing, that's really boring. You're like, hey, I do consumer financing. Like, you don't do that. So we provide small loans to women for things like solar lamps, clean cook stoves, rainwater tanks, and so we finance that for them. And then they repay to us over 6 to 12 months. And when that money comes back in, part of that funds our entire team who run all the operations on the ground. So part of that revolving credit funds their salaries in our operations, and then we have some left over to keep lending. But this year in 2015, we'll have made almost 1,000 loans when the year's over.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And interestingly enough, we're going to actually use a similar type of lending model. We're going to establish that in coalition so that we can provide our skis on credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
How'd you come up with the name Coalition?
It was on that backcountry ski trip, and we were just kind of like skiing, drinking whiskey, like, oh, what would be a good name? We're like, oh, Coalition, because it's like women, kind of like, together, Coalition. And we just met, and we actually, so like when we, I talked about how when I got home from that trip, there was a lot of sort of organic market research, and we were emailing everyone we knew. We tested the name, so that was like part of the research that we were doing is, what do you think about this name? We'd actually come up with like 8 different logos too. So we had like the name and all these, we had all the like 8 of them, and we got like 200 women to comment on which logo they liked the best. So we really like, from the beginning, have started with this approach where we ask women what they want and we listen and we move forward. But I don't know, we just came up with the name Coalition. We thought it was cool. Other people did too, so we went with it. But we had to add snow to the end of it. So this is like a business tip. We were searching in patents, or not patents, sorry, in trademarks, and there was already a coalition. And they are, so far I've met them. I've met these 2 women who have a film company. They do film. It's not even related to us at all, but their coalition, I've met them at this event like years before, so I even knew who they were. It was so small world. But we had to come up with a different name, so we couldn't just be Coalition. Like legally, we're Coalition Snow. And we also couldn't get the URL coalition.com because somebody else who's not even in business, who won't give up their URL, had it. So that's why that's the Coalition Snow. But we just call ourselves Coalition for short, because that's what we always wanted to be. Question? Yes.
Quick question. What challenge did you face when you were setting up your business plan? Did you actually have your ambassador help you with most of it, or did you have to kind of figure out what you needed to do to kind of get everything in motion?
We don't have a business plan. I don't believe in business plans. I think that when you're in a startup, you need to just go work. You need to be out, you need to be talking to people. I am maybe saying the opposite of what your performance is right now. Okay. I understand that, but I think that there's components of a business plan that you need to know. So you should never just start a business with like eyes closed, ears shut, like not know the issue. So I know the pieces of a business plan. I know that you're supposed to understand your market, you're supposed to size, your competition, what are your financials, projections, like all these different pieces. Like I know what they are, but rather than like writing them in a formal business plan, I'm not going to take the time for it. And there are 2 schools of thought. Some people say like you absolutely have to have a business plan before you start a business, and other people say like you need to go do the work. So we're doing the work. We will maybe we'll write a business plan when we need one. We've been looking at a bank loan, and banks want a business plan, but banks also give you $20,000, and I know people who give me that with no business plan. So the banks are just out of touch, like I don't want to waste my time with that. And then normally like bigger investors, like, because our first round is like basically like your seed round, and it's friends and family, like you're not going, unless you're in tech, you're not really going after like big time investors from the like very start. So when we go into our round A, we'll probably have a formal business plan there, but I'll probably hire someone to write it because once it, like I don't need to take the time to do that. Opposite of your very smart professor.
Jen, I noticed how you are getting your PhD right now. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I am getting my PhD right now. I started my PhD around the same time that we started Coalition. This goes back to being like really naive about things. I just didn't know if Coalition was going to take off or not, if it was going to be a thing, and now here I am like with all these things. But yeah, so I'm working on a PhD. I'm studying sustainability education, and what I'm most interested in is how women have become a commodity. How we like basically buy and sell the concept of women. So if you look, like if you look Gap, like right now, Gap has this like girl empowerment advertise, like that's their campaign right now. That's the commodification of women. They're basically selling clothing that's like probably made in a sweatshop by little girls in order to empower girls. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm like building this theory of commodification and specifically like how we do this with women in Africa. So I'm looking at like Marxist critical race, critical theory and postmodernism and development theory and lots of other things that keep me busy so that I have zero social life because I just read all the time and write papers. Don't get a PhD unless you want to hate your life. Don't do it. Actually, only get a PhD if you really want one, because it's really hard. But ideally, I'll finish up. I'm in my third year now, so ideally, I'll be able to wrap that up.
Is this commodification of women something that you've seen like unique to the United States into this time period, or is this something that's been going on throughout history, and is this something that exists in the third world as well, or how does that, compare and contrast?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know if I have enough data to answer that specifically, but what's sort of inspired me to do this research is seeing, I've been in this field of like women's empowerment long before we called it women's empowerment. So, I'm 39 now, and when I was in my mid-20s, when I was like 25, I was getting my master's degree, and I was studying the same stuff, and this was pre-women's empowerment, pre-social innovation, pre-social enterprise. So what I've seen is that with the proliferation of social enterprise, you guys are all familiar with social enterprises, right? Social entrepreneurs, like that concept that you blend profit and social good. Do you guys know about that? Social entrepreneurship?
I think some of us do, some of us don't though.
Okay, so social entrepreneurship is this, I would say, a movement that's now happening like across universities and then also in the real world where people are starting for and nonprofit companies in order to have a social good. So you see it a lot, with companies who are like making solar or water treatment or technology like mobile money or all these different things where the idea is you have a company, a product, or a service where you're making money off of it, but you actually have a social good. So social entrepreneurship, if you guys don't know about it, you should Google it. It's a pretty cool thing, but as with everything, some things are abused and some, But with the proliferation of social entrepreneurship, people need to sell stuff, and you also see it in corporate social responsibility too. So I think that women and women's empowerment has become this like hot thing, like it's like everybody wants to empower a woman. Everybody does. So like, I'm empowering women, I feel good about myself today. Great, okay. So you're seeing this with the corporate world has caught on to the personal passions that people have about supporting women. Whether you're a man or a woman, like people tend to believe in women's empowerment. The corporate world's caught on to this, and they're basically leveraging that in order to sell more shit. And that's what I mean by the commodification of women. So, like, one of the other sort of typical commodifications of women is prostitution. But I'm not looking, but that's a little bit different. So I'm looking at this more how the business world And also with the business world, I'll say like, NGOs, development aid, like how they're using the concept of a woman to further their agendas and put more money in their pocket.
Jen, do you see your market of ski snowboards for women by women as a niche market? Are you seeing the effects of it being a niche market in some sense?
Yeah, I don't know. There's 8 million women right now in the United States who are active snow sports participants, and that number is growing. So I think we think that women are a niche, but I don't think they are. They spend a lot of money. They're spending $1 billion a year on snow sports related gear. So when you look at the data, they seem like a driving force in the industry. I think 10 years ago, niche market, absolutely. Today, not so much. I think our, we target advanced to expert skiers. Like, we're not making skis and snowboards designed for beginners. So I would say that specific market's niche, for sure. And the reason why we're not making gear for beginners is that's what everybody else does. Like, that's what the problem is. Most women's gear is really designed for beginners, and not all of us are beginners, so that gear is like, it just doesn't work. So I don't think women are, but I think as you begin to segment out women, you do get into a niche, which will either work or not work for us. We'll see. I mean, we'll know at the end of the season if we have a company or not. It's just every year, you're just sting.
Any other questions? We've got time for a few more.
If it doesn't rain this year, how much is that gonna? Obviously, that's gonna affect your business. Do you have any backup plans in order to help yourself with any profit losses? I guess you could say.
Well, we, as I mentioned earlier, we made a big push to grow our ambassador team. So we're on 3 continents, 5 countries, right? So our ambassadors are women who ski or ride more than 60 days a year. They're on our skis and boards, and they're basically like our sales reps. So they're on mountains, on our skis and boards, talking to women in the lift lines, on the chairlifts, handing out discount cards, swag, running events, getting women on our demos. So the fact that we're not just located in Tahoe, the East Coast had a big year, and that's really like climate change is the extremes, right? So if it doesn't snow in the Sierra, which it may not, ideally all the work that we put into expanding our ambassador and our rider team across the country and into other parts of the world will pay off because we won't be so isolated here. But the entire ski industry is hurting with the whole West Coast and into the Rockies being kind of shut out. But ideally that'll work. And then if we ran a really successful Kickstarter last year, there are companies who do run Kickstarters more than once, and so we know that we have a following. So potentially we might do that again, although we need to have a really good reason to do it beyond we're out of money. Like, that's not why you start a Kickstarter. I'd say the other thing that we've done is, and we did this through our Kickstarter in the spring, is we launched the line of soft goods. So we have leggings, hoodies, jewelry, different things that aren't really climate sensitive and sort of reach beyond people who might be buying a ski or board. So we might, our goal is to really grow our soft good lines too, because that could help us as well.
Jen, would you have any advice for anybody that's looking into running their Kickstarter for the first time and going through the process and having a business already going and looking for that extra funding through social media in some sense? What any recommendations or just advice you have for any students that are looking to do that for initial funding?
Yeah, so you should know that a Kickstarter is full-time work. You can't just put something out there and think it's going to sell itself, right? So we had 10 people. I recruited 10 people for our team who committed to sending out the messages that I told them to send out on the specific dates. So, we had a calendar. It was color-coded. On these days are the days to send your email. I had every email written for them, every Facebook message, every Instagram message, every tweet. Everything was written for people, dated, color-coded, and I had 10 people who did that. And we ended up raising like 15 grand in like 2 days. In the first two days, because we had so many people. So I would say build a team. You cannot do it by yourself. You and your 3 friends can't even do it. Like, you need a group of people who are going to commit to you. Be very organized. Very, very organized. Be ready be on it. So like, you need to like have a schedule where you're letting people, like, keep people know before the campaign starts, hey, this is coming up. Then you need to know, like, we're going to blast this hard on day 1, blast it hard on day 2. This is what our messages are. Know what your message, like what your marketing, your messaging is for the 30 days, and just be ready to be on top of it. Because I found, like, I was on Twitter and Facebook like 6 hours a day the first couple days just trying to respond to people, because social media is social, right? So you need to like people's comments, respond to them, retweet, do all that kind of stuff. So it was a ton of work, but I would say like be very organized, have a schedule, have everything written out in advance, have a good video. Like, we paid someone to do the video, that's important. Use the perks as a chance to test new items for your company. You know, like, why not? You get to see, like, free test. Like, if nobody picks that perk, don't go into production with it. You know, like, it's a pretty good way. So, yeah, those would be some of the tips I would have for starting a Kickstarter. And no, they're kind of never ending. Like, we ended up fulfilling, like, pretty much being on time for all of our fulfillment. We had like 360 orders to fulfill. It was hell. It sucked. It was bad. I had a team to help package things too. He'd come to my house, and we had like 6 people working on packaging stuff because it was so much work. So just be prepared for that. But it's worth it when you make the money. Like, we made $31,000. It's good.
Okay, we got time for one more question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned recruiting a team of 10 people, and then you put together this ambassador program. It sounds fantastic. What's the process of recruiting these people for you, and how did you go about finding so many people with so much interest? Do you compensate these people? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the key to being a successful entrepreneur is that you have a network who believes in you. It doesn't matter if you have the best written business plan ever if people aren't inspired by you and don't believe in you, right? Like, so much of our work as entrepreneurs is really the social skills and the people skills that we have, and that we're able to transfer our passion, that we can articulate our passion, and that people trust us. So I've been busting my ass for a long time. Like, people can count on me, and they know that. For like many, many, many years, I've been working really hard, building relationships, following through with everything that I say I'm going to, communicating well, you know, all of these things that, you know, not blowing stuff off, striving for excellence in everything that I do. Like, good enough is not good enough. Like, it needs to be really good. And everybody knows that about me because I've built this professional career, right? So when it came time for Coalition, and you know people who are going to be interested in not, like, in the network that I have, there's people who are very interested in the work I do in Africa and don't care about skis, and vice versa. There's people who care a lot about skis and don't care about Africa. So I know who to ask for what, and I don't ask for everything. But with building the team for the Kickstarter, a number of them were our investors, so they were invested in us doing well, because the Kickstarter only helps the company and the exposure that got. So, and I only work with investors who are people I would sit down and have dinner with. I will not take your money if I don't want to have dinner with you. Because working with investors is like dating. How many dates are you going to go on with somebody that you don't like? Ideally none, right? So we have, you know, I had investors, I had some just women that I knew who, like, they want to be a part of it. It's a cool thing. What Coalition's doing, like, why it's popular is that no one else is doing it. And that's what makes it interesting. And we're doing something really good for women, and in turn, that's really good for all human beings, really. So, you know, I was able to rally people that way. And then the ambassadors, it's sort of the same thing. It's not so much the ambassadors know me, but people want to be a part of cool things. So if you create ways to invite people into the work that you do, and they feel like they have ownership over it, and that they're actually a part of building and growing something and doing something really cool, that's how you get people in. And that's really how we've been able to grow our ambassadors, because so many of our ambassadors have come to us through our form on our website, not because that we know them. They've just heard about Coalition, and we gave people an opportunity to be a part of our company without necessarily having to buy skis. And that's how we've been able to build our ambassador team.
Oh,
One quick one. Alright, go for it.
yeah, you just know that you have a company now, you spend a lot of time with it. What's the reason for you to continue pursuing a PhD? Yeah.
I don't quit. Quit. I've never, like, I'm pursuing a PhD because I just don't give up on things. Most people would have quit, like, they would have been like, hey, you got all this other stuff going on, you don't need a PhD. But for me, like, as a young girl, and like, I never had dreams of getting married. I never had dreams of having kids. I had dreams of getting a PhD. This is like a big bucket list thing to me. So it's something that I've always wanted, and obviously I don't really need it, but I've wanted it, and it's like a blessing and a curse that I don't quit what I start.
I like that. Cool. Anyone else? Quick question. Excellent. Thank you, Jen, so much. Everyone give her a good
I'd like to sort of finish out by saying, like, if you guys are interested in the company, like, look us up on Facebook, on Instagram, get on our website, send us a message. Like, we're active, we're interested, so you guys can all get in touch with me because I'm the human behind a lot of that stuff. So thanks for your time, and good luck to all of you and all the college things that you're doing.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.